Back to No Color Gaming. This is Matt, and today we are debuting our weekly series on NFL football fantasy projections. I'm going to be covering pick'ems, eliminator challenges, DraftKings, FanDuel, anything like that. We're going to be doing projections, picks, who I like, who I don't like, maybe some sleepers. And hopefully I can help you guys win some money. And if you do, please, let me know. Let me know if I helped you win some money. Don't bother letting me know if I bombed, because I'm playing all these players, so I already know. So, week 6, this season has been a weird season in the NFL. We have the only undefeated team in the NFL thus far is the Minnesota Vikings. Show me someone who predicted that at the beginning of the season, and I'll show you a liar. The Cardinals are not doing well. The Panthers, Super Bowl runner-ups, are 1-4. This is not a predictable season by any stretch of the imagination, but we're going to try anyway. So, first, we're going to look at my Eliminator pick for the week. If you play Eliminator on ESPN, the premise is that you pick a game and you keep going until you get one wrong. If you've lasted this long, then good on you. So I'm going to go with my Eliminator pick for the week 6. I'd have to say that the safest pick for me going into the Eliminator is going to be the Steelers. The Steelers at the Dolphins. This is a Dolphins home game, but I can't see Miami doing anything against the Steelers offense, and their defense has not showed up enough to stop the likes of Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, or Ben Roethlisberger. So Steelers are definitely my Eliminator pick. Go with them. If you haven't picked them already this year, that's the other thing with the Eliminator. If you already picked them, well, shit. So I say go with the Steelers, but as a backup, Denver Broncos. Those are your two Eliminator picks that will probably win this week. Now, fantasy. We want to talk about, I'm going to start with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are an interesting position because they can screw up the most and have the least amount of effect on fantasy. If a quarterback throws for 500 or 300 yards and throws 2 picks, he's still doing all right because he's about to have a touchdown or 2 in there, and that basically negates any interceptions or fumbles. So quarterbacks are really interesting to go with. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm going off of DraftKings scoring system, which is points per reception, and they don't have kickers. I will be glad to put some kickers on with my fantasy rankings, but they will be useless in DraftKings. So my top 3 quarterbacks for this week, number 3 is Joe Flacco against the New York Giants. Joe Flacco, no matter what weapons he has, traditionally, I mean, Steve Smith went down and Kamar Aiken all of a sudden explodes when Kamar Aiken is not that talented, if we're being realistic here. But Joe Flacco has been able to find targets when there are none around him, and I still don't know how he does it. But number 3, I would go with Joe Flacco against a shoddy, questionable New York Giants secondary. Number 2, Drew Brees. The Panthers secondary has been getting torched this year. Just absolutely destroyed. The Panthers just, I don't know what happened to their defense. Trading Josh Norman, I guess, was the stupidest move they could have made, because last year they have one of the top defenses in the NFL, and now, in my opinion, for fantasy, they have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So Drew Brees is a solid pick. This secondary is not ready for a player of Drew Brees' caliber. They can't even keep up with Matt Ryan, and I mean, you can't go wrong here. Drew Brees is a solid pick this week against the Carolina Panthers. But my number one pick, and I'm going back to my Eliminator pick, is Ben Roethlisberger against the Dolphins. The Dolphins' offense has not been able to move consistently enough, not even against the Cleveland Browns, who are probably the worst team in the league, have not been able to move the ball consistently all year. So, what does that mean? Well, the Dolphins do have, on paper, a good defense. Penalties have been killing them this year. But even though they have a good defense on paper, their offense cannot muster drives long enough to give their defense a proper rest. And when you're facing someone like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, Jesse James, Sammy Coates, all these guys who are just exploding this year, you are not going to be able to cover them with no time to rest. So Ben Roethlisberger is going to get plenty of chances to make huge plays with all of his weapons that they gave him over there in the Pittsburgh offense, and he is probably the safest quarterback to play this year. Or this week. So now we're running on to running backs. Running backs, the way I like to pick them, because DraftKings is points per reception. I know that's not every league. I know some leagues actually give you points per carry. That would be awesome. But DraftKings, unfortunately, does not do that. So when I'm looking at running backs, I'm looking for best chance of getting big yards. Also, what team's going to be winning? Because if you're winning in the fourth quarter, you're usually running the ball, and that gives the running back more opportunities. So, number 3 pick would be Jordan Howard. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got Ryan. Jordan Howard from the Chicago Bears. I do not think that the Bears are going to win this game, but with the loss of Kevin White and the loss of Jay Cutler, the Bears have been running the ball more than not. And it's been short throws, screens, dump offs. This is not an offense that has really been throwing it deep down the field, especially with Hoyer back there. Now, while Hoyer has been solid for the first 3 weeks, he has been a solid sleeper ever since he came into the Bears starting role. He has been solid and a great pick at quarterback. Jordan Howard has exploded onto the scene with the loss of Kadeem Carey and the loss of Jeremy Langford. They brought in Joke Bell from an old Detroit Lions running back, but Howard has said, you know what, you can bring in as many running backs as you want. This is my team now. Somehow, the Bears have managed to lose one of the top 5 running backs, and Matt Forte, and then the subsequent year draft another Matt Forte. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He runs hard. He runs through the trenches to the outside. He has the breakaway speed to get where he needs to go. So this is someone to really watch out for. Jordan Howard of the Chicago Bears is my number 3 running back for this week. My number 2 running back, DeMarco Murray. DeMarco motherfreaking Murray. He has had a solid year this year. Nothing like he had with the Cowboys. Oh my God, he was amazing that year. But this is against the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have no team this year. They do not have a team this year. They have Terrell Pryor and a bunch of injured people. So DeMarco Murray is the bet here. Tennessee is going to get up to an early lead. If not, get the goal line scores with DeMarco Murray early. Also, he is going to be running the ball well in the second half. So, DeMarco Murray is a very safe pick for this week. Number 1. My number 1 pick is Le'Veon Bell. You're going to see this, folks. You're going to see the Steelers a lot this week. I love this matchup against the Dolphins. I think that the Dolphins do not stand a chance, and this is going to be one of the big blowouts this week. Le'Veon Bell, first of all, just mentioning his name, you already know that this is a solid pick. He is going to get 70 yards. He is going to get 3 or 4 catches. That's 10 points guaranteed every week. Le'Veon Bell is arguably the best young running back in the NFL. Probably the best active running back right now. Since AP is injured and so many injuries are going on, it's crazy in the NFL right now. But Le'Veon Bell is the safe bet here. He will be running the ball a lot in the second half, and he will get goal line looks and also passes out of the backfield if they can ever cover Antonio Brown. Which brings me to wide receivers. My number 3 wide receiver this week, Willie Snead. Willie Snead from the New Orleans Saints. He was hurt last week. He gutted it out. He got 1 catch for 22 yards, I believe. Not a great game. But again, the Panthers secondary has been getting torched. So, Willie Snead had plenty of rest on his bye week. He should be ready to go. And I think they are going to carve the Panthers apart. So, Willie Snead, number 3. Number 2, Brandon Cooks of the New Orleans Saints. I am going heavy on the Saints receivers this week. Brandon Cooks can outrun any defensive back. It really doesn't matter. And with Drew Brees slinging the ball, I think Cooks and Snead are going to have a huge game. Double up on them if you can. And if you can, get Drew Brees too. That'll be a solid threesome for you this week. My number 1 receiver, surprise, surprise, Antonio Brown. I love this matchup. There is not one corner, not one safety, not even Rashad Jones can cover Antonio Brown. It's end of discussion. Now, the problem with this is Antonio Brown is $10,000 on DraftKings. That's a significant chunk of your change, which is never a great thing. So if you don't want to pay the money for Antonio Brown, I would say to go with T.Y. Hilton. And the reason I say that is Andrew Luck this year has no other targets. Philip Dorsett has gotten a couple of deep balls. Dante Moncrief is injured. They have no running game. Jack Doyle had a big first game, but we haven't heard much from him since. Dwayne Allen gets his couple catches here and there, but everyone knows that the playmaker for the Indianapolis Colts is T.Y. Hilton. And honestly, I don't know if Houston's secondary can cover him. Now, it does bring the question, is the blitz going to get to Andrew Luck? Probably, but that is going to leave a lot of short routes for T.Y., which scares a lot of people off. But if you know T.Y.'s run after catch ability, this is a solid pick to go with this week. And the Texans are on a huge slide. This is going to be a big game this week for both teams. Look, both teams to play well, and I think T.Y. is going to have a big game. So let's move on to tight ends. Tight ends, always number 3. He's always in the top 3, but my number 3 this week is Greg Olson. This guy is ridiculous. Kelvin Benjamin's back. The wide receiving core is healthy. But as long as Cam Newton is there, or even the backup, their safety valve is going to be Greg Olson. They are going to be happy going with Greg Olson. And the Saints do not have linebackers to cover Greg motherfucking Olson. So, Greg Olson, number 3, solid pick this year. Definitely someone to look out for. My number 2 tight end, Zach Miller of the Chicago Bears. Alshon Jeffrey, ever since Brian Hoyer has come into the starting quarterback role, Alshon Jeffrey is not getting as many looks as he used to. Brian Hoyer has been focusing more on Eddie Royal, Zach Miller, and Kevin White when he was there, but now that Kevin White's injured, he's focusing on Cameron Meredith. Zach Miller is going to get his touches. He always does. But against a Jacksonville linebacking core who's a little too slow for Zach Miller, I think he's going to have a big game, and that's someone you should really, really watch out for. Thank you, Emery. My number 1 tight end for this week is Rob Gronkowski. God, this hurts to do. I am a huge Colts fan and I hate the Patriots, so let's just do this though. Last week, Martellus Bennett had 3 touchdowns. That is not something you can hope for weekly with the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is going to spread the ball around, and we all know that. But Gronk is finally getting back to his old self. Last week, we saw him haul in enough targets to break the 100-yard mark. Tom Brady is going to get back into rhythm, and Gronkowski is going to explode. Gronkowski is the pick this week. Watch out for him. He is going to be a monster this week. Flex positions. If you want to go flex positions, when you go to flex positions in DraftKings, make sure it's a guy who catches the ball. You don't want to put a running back in your flex position in DraftKings because of the points per reception. There is no points per carry, but there's points per reception. So every catch the guy gets, if he gets 10 catches for 10 yards, that is 11 points. If a running back gets 10 carries for 10 yards, he gets 1 point. You need to go with someone who catches the ball in your flex. So my flex for this week is going to be Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb. I think this is going to be... I think Green Bay is out to send a message to the league. They have not been the greatest team in the league this year like they have been in the past. Aaron Rodgers is probably upset that the only undefeated team in the league is in his division, and they beat him. He is not going to let that stand. Aaron Rodgers is going to come out angry. When Aaron Rodgers plays angry, people lose. So, Jordy Nelson is a solid flex, along with Sterling Shepard from the New York Giants. Someone you really want to watch out for. Odell Beckham is getting double teamed all the time. Victor Cruz, he's had his year. He's having a solid year, but this Sterling Shepard guy is something else. You need to watch out for him. And against the Ravens, they are going to be focused on Odell. They won't be able to run the ball very well. I would look for Victor Cruz or Sterling Shepard to have a good game against the Baltimore Ravens this week. So make sure you try to plug that in if you can. So we're going to move on to defense. What defense is going to be... What's up, Gabe? Welcome back. So we're looking at defenses this week, and the top 3 defenses I see for this week. Number 3 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, the Miami Dolphins offense is scary, and not in a good way. With penalties and miscues and just not the greatest of players and injuries, they are not able to sustain any offense in any of their games. So the Steelers defense is a solid pick. They're going to get off the field often. The Steelers are going to drive down the field, giving them plenty of rest. I believe them to be a nice little sleeper because they have not been the greatest defense in the league this year. I think they're going to have a big game against the Dolphins. Number 2, the Los Angeles Rams. The Detroit Lions have put up a good fight. They beat the Eagles last week in a little bit of an upset, and it was a good game. But the Rams' defense is so disgustingly good, with arguably the best defensive line in the league, a solid secondary and a solid linebacking core, and then Jeff Fisher calling the plays. I don't see them not having a good game against the Lions. The Lions will not be able to run the ball, which will allow the Rams to just focus on Stafford. I think they'll be able to stop him, and the Rams will have a good game against the Lions. Number 1, the Denver Broncos. San Diego has been decimated on offense with injuries. With the loss of Keenan Allen and Danny Woodhead, they're not a good team right now. They are not a good team. They are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. And the Denver Broncos defense is going to be coming for that ass. Von Miller, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, they are not going to be able to do anything against this team. So I would say plug in those Denver Broncos for the defense. So now we're going to go on to pairs. People like to pair quarterback with their receiver to kind of double up on those points. My favorite duos this week are Drew Brees and Willie Snead. I think, though, again, the Carolina Panthers secondary is not ready for this team. Then you have the Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown against the Dolphins. Gone into that matchup enough. And then Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. Those are my top 3 pairs for this week to throw in there and double up on those points. Stack teams. I notice a lot of players like to stack on DraftKings. They like to go heavy on one team and have that game decide the outcome. So if you're going to stack on one team, my top 3 teams this week to stack on are the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Saints. Those are the top 3 teams I think are going to have the biggest points for you. Stack up on them and get all the points from those games. Moving on, we're just going to finish it up with our picks. Our pick 'em for this week. We'll see how we do, and I'll come back with a record next week, and we'll see how I did. First up, Broncos at Chargers. Again, the Chargers have been decimated. This is a Thursday night game simply because it's a division game, but I think it'll be an effort in futility by the San Diego Chargers. Denver Broncos win. 49ers at the Bills. The Bills are on a resurgence after shutting out the Patriots for the first time in decades at Foxborough. The Bills are alive again, and Chip Kelly and Colin Kaepernick are not ready for the Bills and the Ryan brothers. I believe that the Buffalo wins at home, and Chip Kelly gets fired by the end of the season. Hopefully. Eagles at Redskins. Here we have a divisional rivalry. They are at Washington. This is going to be a close one. Carson Wentz has been on fire to start. He threw his first pick in 135 attempts last week. That's not going to send him on this crazy downhill slide, but he is facing Josh Norman now and the mean Washington Redskins defense. But the Washington Redskins are facing the mean Philadelphia defense. So I'm going to have to go with the home team here. The Redskins win 20-17. Browns Titans. Browns are at Tennessee after an abysmal season so far, an injury-laden season. The Browns fall to the Titans 21-2. I guess I'll give them 6. Ravens Giants. I believe the Giants are almost there. They are on the cusp of greatness. They have a young, hungry team. They could be something next year. Baltimore Ravens win in New York, and the Giants continue to grow. Panthers Saints. Again, this team is not ready for this Saints team. Saints are going to come out slinging, and it's going to be disgusting. So I have the Saints winning in New Orleans against the Panthers, and the Panthers continue their Super Bowl hangover into Week 7. Next game, we have the Jaguars at Chicago. I know I said at the beginning of this broadcast I don't think Chicago's going to win, but the more I think about this matchup, it is going to be closer than everyone thinks. I think that it's going to depend on who starts at quarterback. If Cutler comes back this week, the Chicago Bears lose this game. If Brian Hoyer is playing quarterback, I believe the Bears edge out the Jaguars 17-14. Rams versus Lions. I think the Rams are on a mission. They're leading the NFC West right now. The Seahawks are hot on their tail, but they are on a mission to prove that they are the new team in the West. New city, new places to be. They're going to Detroit, but I do not think the Lions have the power to stop the Los Angeles Rams. Rams win 17-10. Steelers and Dolphins. I wonder which way I'm going to go. The Steelers are going to walk into Miami and make it their house. The Dolphins cannot keep up with the Steelers. It's not going to happen. So the Steelers win 31-10. Bengals and Patriots. Tom Brady's back. Damn it. I don't like him. But oh my God, when he plays mad or he has something to prove, damn does he prove everyone wrong again. So I still hate him, but Patriots win in Foxborough to make up for the last time they were there with the shutout. 28-17. Chiefs at the Raiders. The Chiefs have a dominant team this year. I think it was 5 turnovers against the Jets. A nasty defense that can really step up when they need to. The Raiders are getting there, but they're not quite there yet. So I have Kansas City winning this one 21-20. Falcons at the Seahawks. This is a surprisingly intriguing game. At the beginning of this season, I would have said the Seahawks blow them out and destroy them, and there's nothing else to it. But now, I don't know. Atlanta's offense is looking real good. Their defense is playing solid. Seahawks defense is playing as good as they always do. They are the best defense in the NFL as a team. The only argument to that would be the Broncos. But their offense just sputtering at the beginning, and it's starting to get there now that Jimmy Graham's back. But I'm going to have the Seahawks edging out the Falcons, but I think it's going to be close. We're going to go 28-35. Don't see a lot of field goals in this one. Cowboys at Green Bay. Again, Dak Prescott has been great. They have really known how to use him. But against the Packers, I don't see it happening. I think that the lackluster pass rush of the Dallas Cowboys is going to be their downfall. Because if you give Rodgers time, you lose. So I have the Packers winning 28-24. Colts and the Texans, an unusually emotional game going into the season. I would have said that this was a throwaway game. The Texans are going to destroy the Colts. I'm a huge Colts fan, but we are not a great team this year. But the Colts are on an upswing. They lost a heartbreaker in London against Jacksonville. Really probably should have won that game, but again, their defense cost them another one. But I do not think that the Texans have the offensive weapons that the Jacksonville Jaguars do with T.J. Yeldon, Allen Hurns, and Allen Robinson, and Julius Thomas, who I think is injured actually. But I am going to have to go with the Colts in an upset. I really think they will be able to upset the Texans. It will be a high-scoring game. This is not going to be a defensive game, especially with J.J. Watt out. So I will say 28-35 again. Final game. The Jets at the Cardinals. The Cardinals have not played the way they were supposed to, and neither have the Jets all year. This is going to be an ugly game. It's not going to be a pretty game to watch. It's not going to be a fun game to watch. This is going to be two teams that aren't great going up against each other and finding out which one is worse. Kind of like the Bears-Colts game last week. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Cardinals. They stay alive for the season, but they really need to step it up. So the Cardinals win 21-17. Those are my picks. Last but not least, we're going to go over kickers. I think for kickers, you need to look at the Cardinals kicker, Adam Vinatieri. And McManus from the Broncos. I think they will get plenty of work to get you your points. Till then, if I suck, let me know. If I don't, let me know. Like the video, subscribe. We will be doing a podcast for the next presidential debate. Make sure you catch that. And Potluck will be returning daily live stream at the end of this week with year 3 rookie draft. So make sure you check that out. I have a new team in there after I had to take a little hiatus. They filled my team, obviously, to keep the league going. I had to take a little hiatus to deal with some personal stuff. Now that personal stuff is getting dealt with, and I can come back. So I'm coming back as the Falcons instead of the Seahawks. So we're going to see if I can build this Falcons team up into what I had with the Seahawks. So thank you for joining me. These have been my fantasy picks. Look for this every week. This is just the first episode. It's a little unorganized right now, but it will get better. So thank you very much for joining me. For No Collar Entertainment, I'm Matt, and I'm out.